Hello, world. Welcome to the Women of BSV. We are delighted to have our fellow Laura Odii here as our guest today. She is an entrepreneur and a longtime thought leader in the BSV space. We followed her on Twitter. We've been listening to her leading chats, delivering inspiration for entrepreneurs on Clubhouse. And she recently has completed her master's degree in cybersecurity technology from Northumbria University. And she has a focus and a career experience in property and construction industry. She's passionate about applying her expertise in construction and brainstorming ways to bring BSV into the construction world. So, Laura, we are delighted to have you here and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to be with you, ladies. I always love chatting with you, so I was really looking forward to it.
So, Laura, tell us a little bit about why and how you got interested in Bitcoin.
I think I heard about Bitcoin quite late for my interests because I studied maths at uni after I left school. And I moved to London from the north of England, and Irish as well. So moved around a bit, but when I was working in London, I was mainly doing 5 years within the property and construction industry. And during that time, I did a lot of research into the direction of the world, like politics and the direction of the financial systems, and how financial systems were just not what we were taught in school, nothing like it. No one taught us about the Federal Reserve banks and what was really going on. And so when I was doing that research, it was then that I saw Bitcoin on the news when it did a big pump, I think around 2017, early 2017 or even 2016. But it was really 2017 that I properly heard about Bitcoin and got into it and got realized that, hang on, this has massive potential for not only the financial system. As I learned more and listened to Craig Wright more, I learned more about like the implications for data and what blockchain was really all about as a ledger of truth rather than just being about money. So I was just fascinated by it all. With my interest in maths and cryptography, it was something that I really wish that I'd come across when I was at uni the first time.
Tell us a bit about your maths degree then. I didn't know you were a mathematician. This is news to me.
Yeah, maths is my thing. I loved it since I was a girl in school. We had this game as kids where you'd do your times tables and you'd go around shooting everyone that like didn't get the times table as fast as you. And in the class, the person who was left standing at the end won a competition. That was my favorite game ever. I just go around shooting all my classmates as a very young child.
Tell us about your cybersecurity MA then. Is that MSc? Sorry?
I did my dissertation on linking Bitcoin SV to the property and construction industry, trying to advise, basically I developed a framework to help companies go about adopting Bitcoin to people, for companies that don't know where to begin or where to start, and they could follow the framework and figure out what services are best for them.
Was your thesis related to using the blockchain for managing processes, business construction processes and planning?
Yeah, exactly. BIM, technology, business planning and modeling, links in very well with the blockchain, and also then linking it into software as a service using the blockchain. So I did some research on the Unisop project because they're doing like blockchain as a service for the supply chain, and I think that's a big part of it because it's not just construction, that's any supply chain, but the blockchain is going to really transform that industry and bring in a lot of transparency and openness and just trust, because I think a lot of companies struggle to rely and trust their suppliers properly. So blockchain will help with that tremendously.
Yeah,
wow,
absolutely.
that's super
absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah,
so what do you know about that, Rory?
007 drone pilot. Sorry, and I was looking into doing drone services for the construction industry and trying to figure out how to incorporate blockchain into that data that was aggregated for construction companies. that would be really cool to bring you in on Tuesdays at 11 every week. There's a Women in Drones meetup.
All right.
Where we
Oh,
all
wow.
do a coffee networking meeting and everything. And people like you should come in and do a presentation to that group on, how this can be incorporated. There's so much going on with drones in the construction industry.
Brilliant. No, that would be fantastic. I think, the construction industry is quite good with networking as well. I think there's a group called Fibery I was part of, which is all about networking, blockchain in construction. It was just a shame that people are still not that aware of Bitcoin SV yet. They're not willing to look at it, because I was speaking to some of them and they were saying about the hurdles with the current blockchains they're using, like Ethereum and things, and the legal complications they're having. And yeah, it's just a shame people haven't come across Bitcoin SV yet.
It's like, how do we get the message out? I mean, doing your MSc, covering it is a really good place to start. But I mean, it feels like to me as though information about genuine good blockchain projects doesn't leak out into the real world very readily. And I don't. Do you have any ideas about how to improve that situation? How to, embed more information into the tops of these industries? Sorry, tough question.
They need to see something in action, like the Unisop product. They need to be able to see something tangible that they can just apply, because I don't know how else to describe it.
No, that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Trying to get more involved with like the privacy and security chats, talking about how to improve your security and privacy on the internet, because I think that's a concern at the moment.
And something that Bitcoin SV can solve, really, as well, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I've been really enjoying it, and I've made some great connections on Clubhouse as well. And somebody I met is now working on the project I'm trying to start up as well.
Oh,
so
brilliant!
Fantastic.
Oh, so you've actually found like a business partner, a colleague.
Yeah, he's somebody that he's doing his degree at the moment, so he's studying data information, AI, cloud technology in his degree, and so he's really into privacy and security and things like that as well. So been bouncing ideas off each other, and just great to have that motivation by someone else who's along the same wavelength. I did feel like maybe am I too ambitious, because the idea didn't go anywhere yet, but that's because it's a very big idea. It's not something that can just be churned out overnight. It's something that will take some time to build, and to build it properly as well. So that's the thing. And also Bitcoin itself wasn't necessarily ready for the idea itself back a year ago. So we'll need the SPV channels to make this app work, the app that I would like to build. And so we'll be relying on the SPV channels, which are now up and running, but at the time a year ago they weren't even like fully developed or functioning or available for use. So things like that. And also a very good on and offboarding ramp is important to the app that I would like to build, because we don't want to just appeal to Bitcoin SV people. We want to appeal to mainstream users, and then it's important. And I'm hoping somebody like Gravity might be able to help.
I know, yeah.
Be able to provide that service for people to buy.
We do. We need a gateway, don't we? Yeah, definitely.
So that's something that I'm hoping will come out soon.
Brilliant. I mean, we'd ask you a little bit more about your business, but because it's so early, you're perhaps best to keep it under your hat a little. Is that fair to say? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still just approaching the investors tomorrow. But yeah, so it's very, very early days, and with approaching the dojo team, but they seem really lovely, and really lovely people.
I remember you telling me about it, your idea, that is, at the conference back last year in February in London. So I know it's something you've been, working on for a long time. So that's really awesome. I really hope it comes off for you. And plus it would be a real boon to the space, but we won't say any more. So, what do you make of all the politics in Bitcoin SV and the suppression and the shenanigans and the entertaining nature of the space? How does all that strike you? Is it good or is it bad?
It's a strange time, I feel, at the moment, because I almost understood it more when everyone was attacking Craig Wright back a couple of years ago, and at that point there was a lot of attention on BTC. There's a lot going on. They were selling the dream at BTC, but now it's been like a few years and BTC is still not doing anything. I think a lot of basically the status quo is not going to be possible anymore. The way that companies are run, with if Bitcoin SV succeeds, everything will have to be reset, and that will bring a lot of opportunities for entrepreneurs, because I think it's the first time that a lot of these big tech giants will really be challenged. If somebody builds a competing Facebook or a competing WhatsApp or a successful competing Twitter on the blockchain, then it's really going to threaten the status quo. And so I think that's very exciting to me. And it's not just the big companies. There's a lot of opportunity in a lot of different industries for entrepreneurs right now. But I think some people will still try and use Bitcoin SV for evil. I think on the whole, there's going to be a lot of good, and I think to me, Bitcoin SV is like a light. It's showing transparency and truth, but it's also still allowing for increased privacy as well. But I do think that quietly some of the globalists are fans of Bitcoin SV and do have big plans for it, maybe. But I'm not sure what you think.
So I agree with you. I think it can still definitely be misused, but I would say the beauty of Bitcoin SV is that it's a lot harder to misuse than the other blockchains. And I think this is something worth discussing at some point, because just the nature, it's harder to abuse. Like you were saying earlier with SPV wallets, where essentially the transaction goes from one person directly to the other person's wallet, and then it gets sent to the miner. It gets sent to update the chain, and just not having that man in the middle that can then, prevent the transaction from happening is a huge protection for the person who uses the currency. If you see what I mean, because my fear is, especially with central bank digital currencies, my fear is that they're then going to effectively start to mandate who can spend what money on what things, and how far from their homes, and cut you off if your social credit score goes wrong, in the wrong direction or whatever. And so I think maintaining a currency that keeping Bitcoin SV as an alternative, life raft essentially, will protect people's ability to continue to spend money and buy food and survive, even if they are shut out from a more centralized controlled system or controlling system. So I think this is the thing that we need to maybe transmit to people on a more regular basis, is this idea that there are better and worse blockchains, and they're not all made equal. I mean, that thing about the other day, I was posting to the Women of BSV Twitter, was talking about how with the Solana network, Craig Wright was making a good point in the Slack about the fact that proof of stake coins are essentially just oligarchical rule, recreated in a blockchain effectively, because it basically rewards people who've got a lot of money. So if you've got a lot of tokens, you get more tokens without ever actually having to invest anything in the network. So you don't necessarily have to create more infrastructure, upgrade your computer. You just get more because you've already got more. And that's not the kind of society that we want. And that's not something that we want to endorse or encourage. And I do think with investing, I'm not saying, people shouldn't buy Solana, because do what you want. But at the same time, though, I do think like investing in line with your own ethics and values it is important because putting your money into things does give it energy, you know. Sorry to come over a bit moralistic, but like this is stuff that keeps me awake at night, you know.
And I'd love to jump in on the currency. You know, if in the past, in America's history, we had the currency was issued from the Treasury, and that can work well if they were to put the U.S. dollar onto BSV, and as well as the Chinese renminbi onto BSV to come into this digital age. Then you would have interoperability. So people who go abroad today, if you are a foreigner that goes into China, you can spend your money in China, but you cannot sell anything in the Chinese market. So it is restricted in this sense. Now, if everything is interoperable, then you could have services online and have Chinese customers. So, for example, as an English as a second language teacher, I have a lot of contacts in China. And the problem is really payment. If they were to pay me for English teaching, it is a large involved process with high fees. If they were to pay me with BSV, it is an instant transaction. Now, in the current setup, most of the English teachers will go through these online portals where there is a company that is paying for the overhead of running the infrastructure. And then you as an independent contractor can provide your teaching services. And then they pay into your local bank account. Now, with everything interoperable, you could have more independent entrepreneurialism on an individual basis, where you could simply use your personal connections to sell your services. Maybe it's a motivational speech. Maybe it's a meditation video that you make, or an English class that you teach one-on-one or to a large group. If we did have currencies running on the BSV infrastructure, that would open up all sorts of levels of business for people all around the world. So I feel in support of that. As far as the Federal Reserve, I just remember in class asking the teacher in school, "Oh, excuse me, how do they figure out the interest rates? What equation do they use?" And the teacher said, "There's no equation.
No.
They make it up." And I went, "Oh, they make it up. Okay.
Something wrong. Yeah.
They just make it up. All right.
Yeah.
Well, you know, so
They
I
have to
think
do
that's
some shenanigans, I think, to sell government treasuries and stuff in order to keep it at what they set it at. But like, yeah, essentially they decide what it's going to be and then make it happen. Yeah, in that order.
We don't have a
Right.
tree house, so let's build one.
If you guys look up the book, The Creature from Jekyll Island
Oh, yeah.
by
Yes.
Edward Griffin.
I've listened to this. Yes, exactly. So, like you said, at the formation of that, the people, the large industrialists that were maybe not in favor, happened to all be on the Titanic, like Casey mentioned earlier. So,
Yeah. So they have a history of propaganda and hijacking the narrative and taking people out that they don't like, which is why I'm just
It's
very
gone up many
concerned.
notches though lately, hasn't it? I mean,
It
that's the thing.
has.
It's like we're
But
next
the
level.
human spirit has a habit of coming back.
Yeah.
It's freedom. It's it's freedom. We'll always find a way.
And I think,
There is a massive
talking.
global takeover to enslave all of us. And I think BSV is one of the things. I know there's more than one. Quantum grammar, quantum banking financial system is also something that I'm looking into, which sounds really promising as far as math goes, Laura. Quantum grammar actually says the same thing forward as it does backward mathematically. So all language is actually algebra. And these two gentlemen have broke the math interface on all language, which has created the ability for you to have a contract written in a court of law inarguably correct because it's mathematically sound. So it's between BSV's financial system and that quantum banking financial system. Something has got to overthrow the current banking system because it's enslaving us and very quickly getting pretty scary out there with the trajectory.
I think, I agree with you up to a point, Casey, but I think overthrow might not be the right word.
Maybe that's, it's not
I think
about
it just
overthrowing
coexist with, and I think its
Yeah.
mere existence will exert the pressure needed to keep the other system more honest. I mean, it's never going to be honest, but it's more honest than it is now.
Yeah.
So, and I think, it's a question of just keeping alternatives available. What do you think, Laura? What's your
That's
take
the thing.
on it?
I definitely think that Bitcoin SV is a tool for freedom. I think it's going to open up so many opportunities, and people will be able to connect safer on a peer-to-peer basis and have more control over their life on the internet. Because I think people don't really realize quite how restrictive the current internet is, like all the censorship going on and what they show you. So what Twitter shows me on my news feed, or what Google shows you nowadays, is so bad. And when Bitcoin SV is really up and running, people will be surprised at how their lives are going to change. I think it's very exciting.
Be able to take the narrative back again. Yeah,
and the small world network is what we're really going to see, and we're already seeing it now. So I would never have the support of you guys, and it's been fantastic to have you guys and just our Women of BSV group.
I know, it's cool, isn't it?
And support through all this crazy times. It's meant a lot, and I don't take it for granted that we have this small world network of like-minded people now. So it's fantastic. I think that will only get better with Bitcoin SV, especially as more people from around the world are coming onto the internet now in third world countries and things. We're going to see a lot more people getting involved with things. So.
And women in BSV absolutely rock. I mean, everyone is awesome. That's one thing that's amazed me. It's like, just brilliant minds and fantastic, personalities. I'm really, really enjoying meeting all the women who are into BSV at the minute and having a chat with them and finding so many sort of parallels. I mean, obviously we're all totally different, but like at the same time, I like to think we're kind of slightly focusing in the same direction as each other, and that's really, really powerful. Yeah.
One thing I've noticed about Bitcoin SV people, and especially the women, is that everyone seems so humble and inquisitive and open-minded. It's just amazing.
Yeah, because we're not trying to pretend like we know it all, because we totally don't.
No.
But at this, and I think that's one of the nice things that Craig Wright brought to BSV with him is curiosity and the desire to learn, and it's like not to pretend like you've already got it all, in hand. He's made learning cool again, and that itself is very antithetical to the whole crypto space. Oh, hello.
Hello, sweetheart.
She's so beautiful.
Good to say hello.
Hello.
She's been very quiet up till now. How have you managed that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Laura, we absolutely loved learning from you about your background, your love of math and of learning, your expertise in cybersecurity and construction management, project management, and the sky's the limit for you and your new business. So more power to ya as you continue to build, and we'll be happy to cheer you on and cheer you up and
help
watch
you
your
out
business
if you
grow.
need it. Yeah.
Yes, and help you anytime.
Yeah, anything we can
Thank
do.
you so much, ladies.
Okay, clicking end now. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Laura.